Hi everyone, I am here to do a very quick review for you on this here, Timequake by Kurt Vonnegut. This was a reread for me. I read this back in 2017, and this time around it's a buddy read. I read this with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics and with Greg at another Bibliophile Reads. So this was published in 1997, and I believe it was the last work that Kurt Vonnegut published before he passed away nearly 10 years later in 2007. And this is a wonderful mishmash of fiction, autobiography, and memoirs. The way this book, I believe, is largely described is as a piece of science fiction, and the main theme is described as the fact that there's this timequake that happens in 2001 and all of humanity is thrust 10 years into the past and are forced to relive events exactly as they were. So there's a loss of free will. The book's very philosophical in that regard. The discussion of free will and determinism is quite apparent. However, I think that this book doesn't necessarily have a plot, and therefore I wouldn't necessarily call it mainly a piece of fiction. As I mentioned, it's a collection of his memoirs, and it's very autobiographical. And I think when it's quite apparent, I think maybe at the point that Vonnegut did publish this, that he was looking back on his life, and perhaps what is really apparent to me more than this subject of free will and determinism is just his exasperation with the way humans do things the way that we do over and over, despite the fact that we know better. However, in spite of this, there is a slight note of optimism, or maybe a sense of futility, depending on how you want to look at it, that we're all each other has. And I think this is summed up by a quote from his son Mark, which is that we are all here to help each other get through this, whatever it is. And I believe he has that quote in another book as well of his, and I can't remember which off the top of my head. So this book is it's quite sad. There's a lot of suicide, deaths, but there's a lot of positivity as well, or what we could consider him looking for positivity in spite of the fact that it's quite clear he thinks all humans are jerks. And I think it's a very, it's classic Vonnegut. It's witty, it's funny, there's a lot of satire, but it ends quite beautifully and poignantly. So I wouldn't recommend this for anyone who's new to Vonnegut. I think because it is such a mishmash and could be quite confusing, the way he jumps from, recalling different points to going back to the main story and vice versa. I certainly wouldn't recommend this for people who are new to Vonnegut. Maybe you might want to read some of his more well-known works first, just to get a sense of how he writes before you delve into this, but I did enjoy this book nonetheless. So anyways, if you've read Timequake, let me know if your thoughts differ from mine, or what your thoughts in general are. Have you read anything else by Vonnegut? What do you think? Anyways, have a great week, everyone. Thanks for watching.